Okay, what are those factors that shift the demand curve? Well, there are several of them that we used to say ceteris paribus, if they all stay constant. Income and wealth, taste and preference, price of substitute, price of complement, number of buyers, expectation of future price. All of these factors are the one that shift the demand curve, that make the demand to shift to the right or to the left, increase or decrease. Okay? The first one is income and wealth. Can anybody tell me what's the difference between income and wealth? Does everybody know the difference between income and wealth? Claudia, you know that?
Wealth takes into consideration your like your non-income, like if you had real estate that you owned that people rent.
All what you own, right? Minus what you owe. And income
is
what you
like,
earn.
Yeah, what you're getting each week for like.
Right. Exactly. What you earn every week, right? So wealth is your house, your car, your stock, your savings, all those things. Now remember, wealth can change minute by minute, second by second. Like if I have some money in the stock market and in 1 hour the stock market goes down by 200 points, my wealth goes down a lot, right? If it goes up by 200 points, my wealth goes up a lot. So it's just based on what the stock market does or other things. So on the other hand, income is what you earn every week, every month, every hour. So now let's talk more about income. The income is one of the shifters of demand. For example, in order to understand that, we have to understand normal good, inferior good, and neutral good. What's normal good? Normal good is a good that demand goes up when income goes up, demand goes down when income goes down. So in other words, there are direct relationship between income and demand. Income goes up, demand shifts to the right. Income goes down, demand shifts to the left. Anything, any product that fit into that definition is normal good. So can anybody tell me example of normal good? You probably have a lot of these examples in your real life. I'll give you one example, you give me another one. One example by buying a new car. Everybody loves that smell of new car, right? When you buy a new car. When you buy, if you have more money, you buy more new car, right? You don't buy a used car. So your income goes up, you buy a new car. Another example, traveling by airplane. When your income goes up, you travel by airplane, right? Rather than some other means. Another example, going to concert, right? All of these are normal good. But what is inferior good? Inferior good is a good that demand for which goes down as income goes up, or demand goes up as income goes down. In other words, for inferior good, there is inverse relationship between demand and income. Your income goes up, you buy less of it. Your income goes down, you buy more of it. How many of you, if tomorrow your income doubles, will go also still to Walmart every day? No, you might go to King of Prussia Mall mostly, right? So, what would be other example of inferior good? Like used car, wouldn't be that inferior good? If your income goes up, you're not going to buy a used car, right? You love that smell of new car, right? So, what else? What else could be example? Can anybody give me one example? I know you know some. Yes?
About like house to apartment?
You call houses as normal good?
Or like you're downgrading or upgrading from apartment to house?
Right. That can be also, that makes sense. Like your income goes up, you're not going to have demand for apartment to rent, right? You'll buy. Exactly. What else?
Like off-brand cereal at the grocery store?
Right, off-brand versus brand, right?
What about the demand for like loans or?
Of course, your income goes up,
You're not
going to get loans, right? Exactly. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point. Any other? Give me one more. Come on. A school, what is it, a school?
You said a demand, it says if you.
Is that inferior good or normal good?
Normal.
Normal good. If you afford it, you will go to school, right? Your income goes up, you will go to get better degrees and higher education. So many are like going by bus. Would that be inferior good? By bus. For example, if you want to go from Philadelphia to New York and you don't have too much money, your income goes down, what do? You get Megabus, right? $10 from Philadelphia to New York. That's a good deal, right? It's better than even driving it. Or so many other examples that you don't buy used clothes if your income goes up. You don't buy used stuff. So these are all for inferior good, okay? Any question about it? If I ask you in test to tell me income, normal good versus inferior good, that's how you have to define it. That's the best definition. So make sure you define it this way. And any example that fit into these definitions, that would be the answer. That would be the right answer, okay? Another factor that shifts the demand curve is substitute and complements. What is substitute? Substitute are two goods that satisfy similar needs or desires, right? Yeah.
Did you go over neutral good?
Oh, yes. The neutral is just the one that doesn't change whether your income goes up or down. But majority of product that we use is normal inferior good stuff. But also there are some neutral goods. Okay? So substitute. Substitute are two goods that satisfy similar needs or desires. If two goods are substitute, demand for one goes up as price of other goes up. Or demand for one goes down as price of other goes down. In other words, there is direct relationship between price of one and demand for other, if they are substitute. For example, Pepsi and Coke. Price of Pepsi goes up, people buy less Pepsi, right? They buy more Coke. So demand for Coke goes up. Direct relation between price of Pepsi and demand for Coke, right? It makes sense. So, what are examples of substitute? Can you give me an example, Lisa? Like for example, for morning,
Like generic.
if you eat usually regular cereal, right? You might replace it with generic stuff, right? With some other brand or with oatmeal, right? What else? How about your car? Like you have, if you have Honda Accord, you might substitute next time with what? Toyota Camry? Like that, right? Can you come up with one example to me? Come on. One example.
I think.
What about renting textbooks instead of buying them?
Renting versus buying, that's substitute too, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. How about going to movie theater versus watching it at home, right?
Yeah.
Through on demand or internet, through Netflix, right? That would be another substitute. So there are a lot of substitutes that you can mention. How about complements? Complements are two goods that are used jointly in consumption. So if I use this, I have to use this one too. Now, if two goods are complements, demand for one goes up as price of other goes down, or demand for one goes down as price of other goes up. That means there is inverse relationship between price of one and demand for others. What are examples of complements? Yeah.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly, that's a popular one, right? That's a good example. What else?
Like when the video game console prices go down, you go buy that and you buy more games.
Exactly. That's a great example. Video game console and the games, all of that. How about any other? One more. Give me one more. Yes.
Cars on petrol.
Car?
Cars on petrol. Or gasoline.
Oh, yes. Gasoline and the car, right, exactly. Those are complements. If you don't have gasoline, you can't move the car, right? So, or some people say watching Super Bowl and having a lot of drink, right? For those that are a drinker, I'll drink tea, but some people might drink differently, right? Or what else? Your textbook has example of 10 tennis racket and tennis balls, right? If price of, for example, tennis racket goes up, if these are complement, tennis racket, tennis ball, a higher price for tennis racket leads to leftward shift of demand for tennis balls. Price of one goes up, demand for other goes down. Remember, I said they're inverse relation. Does that make sense? Now remember this, for tennis racket, price change, you move on the curve. It's a movement on the curve. So we say changing quantity demanded. For tennis balls, price didn't change. Price of complement change. So it's a shift of the curve. You know what I'm saying? So one of them is movement on the curve, one of them is shift on the curve. For this one, it's changing quantity demanded. For this one, it's changing demand. Now let's look at a graphic example of substitute. Coke and Pepsi are substitute. Higher price for Coke, going from P1 to P2, will increase, higher price for Coke will reduce the quantity demanded for Coke. It's a movement on the curve. However, for Pepsi, the price of Pepsi didn't change, right? What changed was price of substitute. So because of that, it will shift the demand to the right for Pepsi. So price of one goes up, demand for other goes up. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So again, remember, one is changing quantity demand, one is changing demand. Any question? Okay. Another factor that shifts the demand is taste and preference. Taste and preference usually can shape a lot of people's demand. For example, if SUV, remember SUVs? There was one day that so many people used to buy SUVs in 90s because the price of gasoline was so low. It was like 80 cents, 90 cents a gallon. It was cheap. A lot of soccer moms, they used to have their kids with SUVs, right? Some of you remember your moms did that, right? But that was when the gasoline was so cheap. When gasoline went up, when gasoline prices went up, a lot of people did not buy as much SUVs last few years. There could be some other example too. Smoking. If there is a lot of commercial and using a lot of like celebrities to advertise that how bad is smoking, that can get a lot of people taste change and make it unfavorable to smoking. So it will shift to the left, right? Have you ever noticed in some bulletin boards, sometimes advertising, they have milk mustache that they show a very popular actress, for example, has milk mustache. Why? Because they want to promote for milk, right? The milk industry, the farmers, they put together and they want to change people's taste about milk. So that makes the demand shift to the right. Okay? So taste and preference can be changing the demand right or left, shift to the right or left. Number of buyers. Increasing population will increase demand, shift demand to the right. Decreasing population will decrease in demand or shift it to the left. Here. See? Demand goes down, it shift to the left. Like for example, after in Pittsburgh, after a lot of steel companies left Pittsburgh area, they went to some other areas or lost to competition from Korea and China. Suddenly a lot of young people left Pittsburgh area. And as a result of that, demand for a lot of things that young people buy shifted to the left. And that created a lot of problem for business there. So these are the things that can move. Or if suddenly because of some reason a lot of immigrants come to this area, suddenly you see a lot of new demands. Like for example, in my area in Chester County, for example, there were a lot of Indians came last 15 years because of companies demanded them. As a result of that, there are a lot of Indian stores and Indian restaurants in all over. Haven't you noticed that? There are a lot more Indian restaurants, for example, than used to be. So these are because of increasing number of people. expectation of higher income or higher future price will increase demand or shift it to the right. And if there is expectation of lower income or lower future price, that will shift it to the left or decrease in population. So, expectation of, that would be true too, but expectation of lower income, lower price will always decrease or shift demand to the left. Expectation is one of the most important factors because when people perceive, for example, inflation will go up, people start buying more, right? Because they want to beat that price increase. And that alone will increase prices, right? On the other hand, if people perceive prices go down in the future, then everybody hold down, doesn't buy. When they don't buy, that will make the price go down. So expectation is very, very important. You know about Black Friday? You know that how a lot of people, a couple of weeks before that, they won't buy major stuff, a lot of people, because they expect on Black Friday to get a real good deal, right? And they don't care, they don't mind to go at 12 o'clock midnight, right? And be on the lines, but they expect to get a much better deal. So because of that, a lot of companies now, a lot of retailers started to do advertising about Black Friday 2 weeks earlier. They say our Black Friday started much sooner, right? In order to sell something before that. So these are all the factors that shift the demand. Okay?